me reacting to Asmongold reacting? Is that how we're gonna do it?
Parentheses, this game is an unfinished, buggy mess. So you see there's the order confirmation right there. Ordered from Steam, NZ $184. In real money, that is $100 because obviously he had to get the refund. New Zealand dollars, a little bit different. Anyway, so he did get his money back, and Starfield is no longer in his library. He has moved past that. And he made a tweet, and he said this. He said, Diablo 4 is better than Starfield, and Diablo...
Okay, so I think that's unfair, though, considering the fact that it's different games. But I'm having more fun with D4 than I had with Starfield, for sure.
4
so I guess
is bad. Wow. So
some
let's
levels
see. I saw people linking me some clips of Quin. Oh, he beat the game? Well, I'm sorry to hear that. That's horrible that happened to him.
Like, D4 is better than Starfield.
Ooh.
And D4 is bad. Yo, there we go. That is what I call success. That is what I call success. All right, to be fair, it was falsely advertised. It's not, the game isn't even fucking finished. It is a buggy mess, and yeah, let me tell you.
Jesus, bro. So he actually got his shit refunded.
Content creators, and they are turning them into shills with they are getting content creators, and they are turning them into shills with their, you know, by doing this fucking early access good boy behavior gets the good boy biscuits.
Wait, isn't this because Quin was already mad, right? Because of the fact that there were streamers who had access, what was it, 8 hours before everyone else who had access. So you had people that were sponsored, right? Wasn't that part of it? Because that's what I was hearing. I don't know. That's just what I heard. I heard that people said that he was angry because some people had access before. I was just confused when I saw it because I just had plans to try the game out. But I was told that that people had access way before. So I saw Anifusia, Carnage, Shroud, and the boys. They all have access 8 hours before everyone else. I don't know why they had access, or if that was because of paid sponsorship. I don't know. And then there's the early access that everyone else had the possibility to buy themselves into. I just don't know what the difference was there. So I'm not too well read up on that part.
I said this shit was gonna happen. Like, I did. I said this shit was gonna happen because it's common sense.
Routine. And I don't know, we need to call out the companies for doing it. And we need to, it's just so toxic, and it's also so anti you guys, the consumers.
Why does it says Giga Tame, Zero Edge, Zero Strippers, and Neon? Why is it that the expectation of like open world MMO games or RPG games is supposed to cater to some sexual fantasy for everyone? Like, is that the expectation we have now because of BG3 or what? I mean, immersion is one thing. Immersion problem, though, in my opinion, was that when I encountered people in space with no breathable atmosphere, so I had a very, very safe space suit on me, and an NPC in front of me told me to keep distance because he was contagious. I just failed to see how her being contagious would affect my character, or how poisonous fumes would get into my spacesuit. The burning ones I get, but not the other ones. I don't know.
It's like anyone who's buying the games, because guess what? They're basically just rigging. It's like rigging the reviews. It's rigging the public perception.
I'm so glad to hear Quin say this.
Well, it's true, so.
I'm actually so happy to hear him say this because he's the only person that I've ever heard speak up about this. And I'm gonna replay it just so you guys completely understand the context. I'm gonna go to the full VOD so you can listen to what he's saying.
Barely talk to me. The community manager that actually does talk to me, he also, I mean, I don't want to be talking, but he also, I mean, he will still reply, but not publicly. I am blacklisted. Like, no, I am absolutely blacklisted. I'm not trying to get back in that club. That's the whole thing. I fucking hate that. I like to just play a game, and then I just say what I think about a game.
Imagine
And
that.
I feel like this is a toxic thing that is happening in the gaming industry right now, where these large AAA game companies they are getting content creators and they are turning them into shills with their, by doing this fucking early access good boy behavior gets the good boy biscuits routine.
I do want to point out, for those of you who don't know what he's talking about and what that means, is that the streamers that had access 8 hours before everyone else did, obviously, from a content creator perspective, rakes in a shitload more extra views, which is a shitload more extra revenue made and subs made and all of that. And that's what he's referring to when he says the good boy biscuit. And then people who are there to review the game in a more professional manner, if you will, play it and then speak their minds about it, like Quin, myself, and many others, they would do that. Whereas what he's referring to is people who are taking the good boy, getting the big good boy biscuit is basically turned into shields where they feel more inclined, or maybe even under contract, I don't know, to speak well about the game, no matter what their actual honest opinions are, right? Just to clarify that for the people who don't know.
And I don't know. We need to call out the companies for doing it, and we need. It's just so toxic, and it's also so anti you guys, the consumers, like anyone who's buying the games. Because guess what? They're basically just rigging. It's like rigging the reviews. It's rigging the public perception. Because people trust content creators, they trust streamers, and if the streamer's saying it's good, they're gonna be like, if I say a game's good, you're gonna, generally speaking, a lot of you guys are going to be like, oh shit, I might play that. Or if someone else says a game's good that you watch and you enjoy, guess what? You're going to consider playing that. I don't think so. Yeah, that is how it works. That's literally how it works. There's a reason why they call streamers influencers, okay? Because they exert influence. That's the reality.
Yeah.
That's the reality. And if they're turning, and if they're able to do that, I don't know, man.
I called this shit out 2 fucking years ago, and I said that this was problematic and it was bad for consumers. And now, finally, 2 fucking years later, somebody else finally sees the big picture. They finally see the big picture of why it's a bad idea and why it's consumer unfriendly, that some people get access to things early whenever they have a positive relationship with the company. And the way that it is bad is because those people are the ones that put the first impression in the minds of the viewers, and they define the conversation about the product. And these individuals are used as marketing tools, and there is a positive profit incentive for them to provide favorable coverage to these video games and to other things as well. Again, this is an overall issue. I apologize for the flashbang, but
a lot of people have talked about this for a long time. A lot of us have done this. They talked about the problems with giving access. Somebody asked me about Path of Exile. It was on the podcast, with the Icy Veins podcast. Talked about GGG potentially. They asked if they were ever going to give alpha access to stream or beta access to stream. Couple of streamers, if they basically asked if a couple of streamers would get access to do that and show the game to the community, and I said they will never do that. They will never, ever, ever do that. And the reason they won't do that is because they don't play favorites. They will give us beta access in a fair way. They don't give a couple of people that are, having a good relationship with the company access to do it before everyone else, because that would be playing favorites. And when they do give that access, everyone has the possibility to give their honest opinion about it. Some companies don't, like Bethesda in this case.
But this is the fucking reality. It is called access journalism, and it is older than video games itself. And I said this shit was going to happen, and people said, oh, companies should...
They did for a league? No, they did not. They had huge paid sponsorships. They gave streamer privilege through bypassing the queue. The problem was that they gave that to streamers who were not underpaid sponsorship with them as well, to try to make it fair for all the streamers. And the vast majority of streamers voiced our concern, saying we don't want the streamer priority queue, we want to be one with the people. It was the whole community blew up because of it. If they only gave it to the paid sponsorships, that would make sense, so they could promote the game instead of having them stuck in a queue. That's a difference from letting people have access to the game, because everyone had access. It was just the queue times being long, and they pay people for X amount of hours. That's a different story. Big different story.
To be able to let people do whatever they want. They should be able to do whatever they want. Well, of course they should be able to do whatever they want, but that doesn't mean that they should do it. It's problematic. It puts, and it negatively hurts. It hurts the streamers, what, for 8 hours? Oh my God, I think I'll live. But who does it really hurt? You. It hurts you. Because the person who receives the early copy...
I want to chime in on what Asmongold's saying here, because he says, oh, the other streamers compared to the vast majority of streamers had access 8 hours earlier, and he says, oh, I can live. Yeah, I get that. I definitely get that. I think that if... because I streamed Starfield on launch. I know a couple of other streamer friends that I talked to that also streamed it on launch. The actual launch from early access, which was from 2 a.m. or something in the night. And the other people had access 8 hours before that, which was during prime time. So you have streamers who had access during prime time, and then everyone else got access afterwards, which was actually during the prime time of the US, but not for the rest of Europe to start with. So not only is that the case, but the thing is, once we moved over, those people were further ahead, and that might not affect the biggest streamers, but it does impact the medium-sized streamers. Like my channel sits on 1,000, 2,000 viewers during league launches and hyped up events, sometimes a couple of thousand, several thousand more than that sometimes. And then I kind of sit on 800 to 1,500 viewers during the league launch periods. And then we usually sit between 500 and 1,000 viewers for the most part outside of that. And we lose a large percent of our viewership when we go from us streamers that plays the main game into playing something that's a different genre, such as going from an ARPG streaming into an RPG such as Starfield, for example. But if you do that on the launch where you're, on equal footing of everyone else, that's definitely a big impact. There's a huge difference for channels to have 500 viewers and 1,000 viewers. It's less of an impact from a streamer who has 20,000 viewers and suddenly there are 15,000 viewers. That's the difference between those two sounds massive, but it's definitely going to have a much bigger impact on the medium and smaller size streamers, right? So I definitely don't agree that that's something that should be easily scoffed about, because it gives another topic to, or another reason for streamers to voice their concerns about these things. But ultimately, what Asmongold is about to talk about now is that in the end, the one that suffers the most from this is the audience getting an unfair review perspective on the game. But it definitely doesn't. I don't think that one should just discard the other aspect of it as well. That's my 2 cents as a content creator. And that might sound selfish, but I think that should not be discarded as easily. But I will agree that the major problem, the main focus should be that it's actually hurting the consumer end.
Who then has a positive incentive to provide favorable coverage to that video game, now is going to provide that favorable coverage more than if it was done equally. And whenever that favorable coverage is applied, and you say, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna drop the fucking Benjamin. Maybe I'm gonna spend $100. Well, guess what happens? Todd got you again. It just works. And it does. And that's why the companies do it.
Yeah. It works. That's the problem. It works. There's no regulations on it either.
Gonna happen. It's happening now, and it will continue to happen. Thank you so much, Quin.
Oh, definitely,
Quin is
Gaga.
the first
Definitely.
person I have ever heard speak out against this, and to ever explain the problem to the audience. Like, fucking massive W for Quin. This is, I have never had anybody else, I've never heard anybody else say this. No, I can wait. Early access journalists are paid to support their paycheck.
Okay, so I know for a fact that a lot of us streamers have talked about this multiple times over. The problem is we don't have the same reach as Aspen or Quin, for example. So I think it's good that these bigger streamers are being very open about this and very honest in their takes about it and actually bringing this to light, because a lot of us streamers don't have the same reach, obviously. The vast majority don't. But we have talked about this multiple times over in the past, multiple times. But apparently, you know, obviously we're not going to have the reach of these people.
Check. The point is that people that are given early access, and if the early access is only given to certain individuals, then it creates a winners and losers situation. And it is favoritism with like streamer politics, yeah, sure. But like, you know, you manage that and you play the game. But the real people who lose out is the audience. And I'll give you an example of how this happens. Reasons you should not trust Metacritic scores. Hashtag Starfield. Metacritics went down to 86 today due to the So Video Games podcast review 65. They played 5 hours. 1 mainline quest and 1 to 2 side missions and called it quits with some of the worst takes I've ever seen. So this is the this is what they said about Starfield. Starfield is a pretty good time. It's basically Fallout 4 in space with some sci-fi and procedural generation. Thank you, ChatGPT. I really appreciate that. Special episode Starfield, the chat review. Here we go. It's so funny. We both played about 4 to 5 hours. I was pretty close to 5 hours, if not a little bit longer than that. These are what you like to call hardcore gamers. Ooh, hardcore gamers.
How many hours are people expecting us to play before we make a review? Because I talked to my editor and I said, hey, I've almost finished the game. I played over 20 hours. Should I make a review? And we decided not to make a review, simply for the fact that I would just sit there and moan about it. So I'd rather look at what other people are talking about, and well, we're making a bit of a reaction video now, I guess. But I mean, still, 20-ish. I think I played over 100 hours in Baldur's Gate 3, and I'm not done with it yet. Like, how much do you need to review it? In press release access I had for Diablo 4, I played maybe 25, 30 hours. And that's, you know, I was barely sleeping, and I did that off stream. But imagine people working with it. I mean, I don't think that 5 hours is fair. Yeah, because it kind of depends on the game, right? I mean, if there's a shitload of issues in the first 5 hours of the game, you can barely progress, then obviously you can make a review on that. But I feel like the setting on Starfield was really bad in the first initial steps of it. There were definitely problems you would encounter in those 5 hours, but there was more to it. Like, again, I actually found myself enjoying some parts of the game. It's just that those enjoyable parts became more dull and dull and dull the longer I played. So I think that if I reviewed Starfield in my first 5 hours, I would say it's a pretty enjoyable game. It's good so far. That's what I would say. My review of Starfield 20 hours into the game is that it just becomes more and more boring and more shallow. And it's essentially empty. I wouldn't say that. But I can definitely see how more casual gamers would find themselves enjoying the game a lot more than what I would have said in the 5 hours window. So what's the breaking point here? Like, what time frame are we talking about when it comes to having a fair review on the game, right? That's literally impossible to say, in my opinion.
Right here, there it is. Number one, I hate the city. I hate the way you've been in it. Right. I'm good where I'm at now. Yep, there you go. And we're flipping.
You can do an initial review and then final. As a YouTube video or on stream, that fits perfectly. A lot of people do it. They'll be like, hey, this is my day one of the game. Let's say a Path of Exile league. They'll be like, hey, this is my day one league. And then they move on from there. And then you have things like, you have Metacritics or websites that makes a review. They are not going to be able to do that in the same extent, because people are going to go in and see whatever they reviewed on the first fucking draft, and that's going to be embedded in the head of those people that watched it the first time. They're not going to come back a week later, oh, have the review changed? No, they're going to get that number, and that's going to be stuck in their head. Whereas in a YouTube video, I would say, hey, this is my day one experience. So far, I think this, and that.
because I don't like a lot of it. And by the way, this is again negative review. Join your negative. Don't we think this is a system? This is what happens. Imagine getting paid to say a good thing about a company. No. I have no problem with people taking sponsorships. I have no problem with it because I take sponsorships. Oh, and by the way, guys, I will still take any early access copy I can get because you know what? It's beneficial to me, and I'll always do it.
Yeah, of course.
However, it is harmful to the industry, and you should get mad at the companies for doing it. However, this is what I'm trying to say.
That's just the harsh reality.
Is that whenever you have a sponsorship, you have to disclose that you are doing an ad, a hashtag ad. And because of that, users are now able to know that this is a sponsor, this is a promotion, and it is not supposed to be taken as an objective review in the same way than if it was not sponsored. Taking sponsorship is one thing, but will you give your honest opinion about the game? I did. I've given my honest opinion about the game 50 times. I've given it 50 times. To Ubisoft's credit, they give early access to everyone, even those that have regularly criticized them. I don't know if they do that. If that's the case, then yeah, W's for them. Have you been scared of taking an early copy of a game knowing it would be bad? No, not really. I don't really do a lot of that anyway. Yeah, that's really what it is. You tiptoed around the idea of saying the game wasn't good. The reason why I tiptoed around the idea of saying the game wasn't good, the people that are criticizing me for that are so fucking stupid, they're dumber than the people that like the game. So the reason why I why I didn't really go and shit on the game immediately whenever it first came out.
Welcome to the crew.
Good thing I can't skip this joke of a game without spending money on it.
Thanks so much for 3 months. I'm not sure if I agree with that, with the statement, because I definitely think that more casual players would actually find themselves enjoying the game. I really do. There's definitely issues, but I definitely think that the game is enjoyable for certain types of players. It's not for me, definitely not for me, and I definitely think there's issues, and there's definitely issues in the way they're handling things. But there were things in the game that were actually quite enjoyable. So I definitely think that some people will find the game very enjoyable. I definitely think that the game's going to be amazing with proper mods later. But so is Skyrim, Fallout, etc., right? Cyberpunk.
It's very simple. It's because I don't think that I'm the target audience for this kind of a game. I've never really enjoyed Bethesda games, so I didn't want to completely shit on a game whenever I played it the, quote, wrong way, and I just went off and did what I did. I didn't think that was fair. I didn't think it was fair to give, like, a review of the game and say this is a terrible game after, like, 7 hours of playing it. I feel like if you want to give a review for a game, you should beat the game. That's my benchmark. If you can't beat the game, then you can't give a review. It's that fucking
That's a good
simple.
take. I like that.
You can give your first impressions. You can do all that
Yeah, like
stuff.
we talked about.
But the truth is that my first impressions playing Starfield on day one were pretty good. I flew around in the ship. I went around. I killed pirates. The problem wasn't the first day. The problem was the second and the third day were the same as the first day. And
That's exactly what I was talking about. The things that were enjoyable became dull. Because it was just a copy, paste, or repeat of it. And I didn't like it. That's when the enjoyable parts of the game for me became dull and not enjoyable anymore.
And I'd say even that they were worse because I wasn't making as much progress then. So yes, of course I didn't shit on the game early on. And I know that it would have been very popular for me to do that, but that wasn't the way that I felt about it. So whenever people get mad at me like, oh, you're not shitting on this, you need to be shitting on this more. No, I don't shit on things to shit on them. I shit on them because I don't think they're very good. It's not that simple. So I don't know. Like, yeah, one day game Andes. Yeah, exactly. Do you need to eat dog poop to know it tastes bad? No, but this isn't dog poop. It's a lot more complicated than that. You could say something like Gollum is dog poop for sure. But there's a lot of games that you don't really even know that they're problematic until way later down the line. Like New World was a great example of this. New World was a great experience for the first, like, probably 20 hours that you played the game.
True.
And then after that, it fell off a cliff. So
Also
the
true.
real problem is a lot of times that you don't really run into the problems that games have very early on. Diablo 4 is another great example. Both of these games had a
Like, D4 was amazing throughout the campaign. And then you realize that half the shit don't work. And then the end game was horrific. it's a great game for casual players, but anyone who wants to play a little bit more than a casual player will have a bad experience as soon as they're done with the campaign. That's D4. It's similar to Starfield. It's just the same thing, right? You had a really horrible time in the start, and then it's a really good time at the start and a really horrible time after that.
Tremendous and amazing new player experience, and then once the kind of meat of the game took hold, that's whenever they really turned into garbage. You see what I'm saying? Now, what would I rate Starfield so far? This is not a review. I think it's like a 5 or a 6. I don't think it's a 3. I think it's a 5 or a 6. Get mad at the company, not the influencers cashing the checks. You're both wrong. You are. They are both wrong, but the company is the one that can stop it, and the content creators will always find a way to, people, you can't rely on somebody not taking a big paycheck for something like this. I think it just makes sense. Especially in like such a competitive industry. It's a lot better than Forspoken. Yeah, I think it is a lot better than Forspoken. So that's why I didn't shit on the game initially. And the reason why also is that, like,
Thank you, Limbo.
I didn't really understand the game that well. And so I wanted to understand the game, and I wanted to figure it out. Because I don't like shitting on games that I don't really understand. I just don't think that it's very, it's just like, it's like getting mad for the sake of getting mad. What are you doing getting mad like this? What the fuck, right? So that's how I see it, man. And if people like this game, base building and shipbuilding, it's a 7. Yeah, it's gonna be there are some people that think it's a 10. And I'm happy for them. Let's see what the other ones are. And so I'll look and see what else Quin said about the game.
Bethesda didn't allow themselves to be criticized. Minimized information about their game, and the subreddit is defending them. But Chris Wilson came out before the league. He let his consumers critique him through a medium of streamers, giving consumers as much information as humanly possible to make decisions on how they spend their money. And this is how the subreddit attacked them. Yep. Bro, the way that they marketed this game was like some endless possibilities, fucking crazy infinity story, do anything you want.
So I played more of the game off stream, like I promised I would, and I have obtained, I think, 3 or 4.
Didn't they also promote like 1,000+ planets, which ended up what I think a lot of us expected, where it just felt like it was just copy pasta? It was fun at first, but a couple of planets in, it just felt like it didn't feel empty, but it definitely felt like it wasn't refreshing or a new experience when I entered a new planet. It was like, oh, it's just that. Oh, it's just that. Plus 3 hours of scanning plants, you know?
Or of the powers that you get from the temples. I cannot express what a boring experience that was. It was probably the stupidest thing I've ever done. All you would do is you talk to the guy in the tank top, like the black guy in the tank top at like the satellite, and then he says, go over there and get this one. And then you come back, he says, oh man, I've been working out a lot. Oh, geez, okay, we'll go over there and get the other one. And then you just have that happens a couple more times, and it's done.
Yeah.
And you go to another another moon or another planet. Who cares whether it's a moon or a planet? And you're running through the planet. There's nothing anywhere. It's a barren fucking wasteland. There's like over in the corner. There's like some like stupid level 5 mob that like tries to attack you, and you kill it, and then you don't get anything for it. You're going on a wild goose chase trying to do like a scan to try to find the different anomalies, but then the new anomalies don't spawn whenever you do the scan. So then you have to teleport back to the ship in order to reset the quest progression to get the next spawn point for the next anomaly. You do that 4 times, then you finally fucking find where the temple is, and the process of finding and getting the power is running around in this zero gravity area collecting sparklies. And then you do that enough times, and you run into a ball, or sorry, like a halo type thing, and then your guy's like, and then you've got to go talk to Vladimir again.
We will send you off to the next
And
artifact.
then you go over there, he says, oh, you like doing that, Moon? Oh, you did? All right. Whoa, I got good news for you. There's another moon. And you just gotta...
That sums up the main story quest line so fucking well. Honestly, like the whole main story was so poorly written, in my opinion. I also got really annoyed with like the puzzles didn't really feel like that you were like learning something or figuring things out, because it was just handheld. I mean, just don't get me started on, I don't want to spoil too much for those of you who haven't played it that wants to play it, but Jesus Christ, there were like some parts of the story, the main story was just so poorly written. It was just so sad, and like I couldn't handle it at some points. I don't know what else to say.
Gonna do it again. You do it again. Yeah, what the fuck? And there's no gameplay to it. It's just like a mindless, brainless, content devoid, like marathon to nothing. I can't I couldn't even believe that it was happening. Have you ever played a Bethesda game? I played Oblivion a little bit.
I do want to point out, a lot of people are comparing Starfield to Skyrim, and I actually very much enjoyed Skyrim. I felt that Skyrim was more enjoyable, even if a lot of dungeons felt copy-pasted. I still had a lot of fun playing Skyrim. I really did. It felt way more enjoyable. And maybe that's because it's not different planets, because everything's happening in the same big area, right? I don't know. And you have these different biomes in the areas, I guess. But it's like, I actually very much enjoyed Skyrim without mods. It was an enjoyable game. I had a lot of fun playing it. Despite the river of issues it had, I actually enjoyed it. I also very much enjoyed playing Fallout, despite the river of issues that had. I very much enjoyed that. I don't get that enjoyment from Starfield. I don't know how to pinpoint the problems there. I guess this whole point with loading screen to loading screen to loading screen and going to the different planets, and oh, you got the artifact, Vladimir's going to send you off to the next planet to get another, or moon to get the next artifact, and it's just a running and jumping, thinking about your goddamn oxygen, trying to get to the next cave to get the next artifact. It's like, I feel like if you compare those type of explorations, the exploration in Fallout and the exploration in Skyrim felt better. I think that they've had more content to them. Is that a good way to put it, if you understand what I'm trying to say?
And I didn't really play Skyrim. No, but like, I don't think that is a good argument. That, well, Bethesda games are always stupid. Well, Bethesda games are always boring, so... That's just how...
This video is getting pretty long, boys. All I'm saying is that I think that there's a lot of people who say that Bethesda, they give you a sandbox game and that how modders are going to make the game great. Fallout 4 is amazing with mods. Skyrim is crazy good with mods. The difference for me with Starfield compared to those two games is that both Fallout and Skyrim for me was actually enjoyable without mods. And that's the whole problem I had. When I pay $100 for the game, I'm expecting the game to give me enjoyment out of it, and I'm actually going to have fun with it. I didn't get that from Starfield. I got my money's worth of enjoyment from both Fallout and from Skyrim without mods. Mods should be there to give you more options or some quality of life issues, not to fix the game. and that seems to be like the name of the game when it comes to Starfield, is that mods are actually there to actually fix the game and make the game fun. That's my genuine take on it. Was there more stuffs in here with from Quin's takes in this?
If so many people can so easily fail at playing a video game, maybe it's not everybody else's fault, you know? Doesn't he just shoot him?
Reload it.
Just shoot the guy. What's he doing?
Fuck, I'm reloaded fucking 5 times!
Just shoot him.
Fucking molding!
Oh, I don't know how many
Yeah,
times I
don't see the
cancel
problem. Just shoot the
reloads.
boss.
There are so many fucking bugs in the game. Even if you think this...
No, Quinn is right about this. Like, the AI is objectively bad.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to finish the entire video. It's I've already gone through this too much. Let's go back to PoE. That's my take on this. I don't know. I feel like there's just so many different problems with it, and it's just I don't know. Like, the early access part is definitely a big problem with it. I definitely think that the gist of the game for me, just to summarize, would be that the Starfield game is definitely going to be enjoyable by some people. I definitely think that casual players, that, you know, they can definitely have a ton of content available to them. But outside of that, there's just so many problems. And the problem is at the game company, and it's up to them to fix it, but we can only voice our concerns and call them out for it, like Quin is doing, for example, with the early access part, which is just detrimental and hurtful to the actual consumer base. And it's just, I don't know what to say. All right, I'm just gonna summarize, quit this. I'm done with this whole reaction thing. There was a couple of really good things in this. I just feel like the game for me is not good enough to warrant $100. I'm gonna refund it for the simple fact that the things that I did enjoy, I very much enjoyed, and then it was just the same thing over and over, and that became dull. So the things that I did enjoy with the game just became boring after a while. And when that happened, there was nothing left in the actual game that was enjoyable for me. Definitely not warranting $100. Let me see how many hours I played exactly. Let's get my Steam library. I played 20.1 hours, and I'm just at the ending of the game. And I'm gonna refund it before finishing it. I'm going to do that. Very simple. And I'm gonna go watch the ending on YouTube and call it a day. That's my plan on Starfield. I think everyone should make up their own mind about the game. But definitely a lot of problems in the background and how it was reviewed in the start. How do you refund after 20 hours? You see, at the time of this recording, the game is still in early access. The game doesn't launch till tomorrow. So I can refund it, even if I played 100 hours. Because the game is in early access. So I'm going to refund it. Because I don't feel like I'm getting my money's worth out of this. And I have no intention to keep playing it. That's my 2 cents on the topic. That's it.